January 1st of this year, I had no intention of writing a book. January 7th, divine intervention hit. A woman who had just lost her life savings, she was on the brink of divorce, just lost her job, and found out that her daughter's cancer was back, all at the same time. And she texted me and said, Amber, God told me that I'm supposed to come to your April event and celebrate the release of your book with you, so I'm coming. I got books in hand at that event, and the woman was there, and I brought her up on stage and I said, this all happened because of you.
Hello everybody, my name is Rugare Gomo and I am your high performance coach. This show exists to inspire and empower you to dream, forge your own path and be the leader of your life. Amber is a books and business strategist, multi-best-selling author, speaker and founder of NGNG Enterprises, which means no guts, no glory, and Inc. 5000 top marketing agency. Amber has helped thousands of people launch their books and become bestseller. Amber is the person that if you want to expand your mission and touch the hearts and lives of people, that's what she does. She is your partner in amplifying your voice. So it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Amber. She has amplified my voice, and today she's going to share her story with us. Hi, Amber.
Oh my gosh, this is a dream come true to me, Rugare. Thank you so much. We are going to have an outstanding conversation for your guest today. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. We met 2 years ago and you've changed my entire life. So, Amber, please tell me a bit about yourself. I know you've got NGNG and books and business company. What's this all about? How did you get started? And why are you here?
Yeah, thank you. As I was listening to you introduce me, it was this really special feeling of everything that it took to get to this moment. And there's this almost little girl inside of me that's like, oh my gosh, we did it. um, because the people that look at me online, I don't think they have any idea who I really am or what it took to get here. You know, they see Amber who's filled with light, and I'm very energetic and I'm very smiley, and I have flowers on the wall behind me. And but you know, honestly, I mean, the story really begins when I was growing up. I mean, I tell this story that I was 18 years old the first time that I remember belonging. And I didn't have friends growing up. I never understood why that was, because I thought I was kind, and it just seemed like I was misunderstood and rejected over and over again. And you know, when I would go home, my mom was a single mom and she was just busy. She was gone all the time working. And I was so grateful for all that she did to provide for us. My older sister and I never really got along. I think maybe she resented me for having to take care of me, which I understand as an adult. I understand. As a kid, I did not. And I think when you take a child who feels that they don't belong, they don't have value in the world. I mean, what happened was I just started sort of caving inward, and I started getting just really sad and really depressed, and I didn't know what to do. And so I think I had some behavior of maybe lashing out or making silly decisions that I wouldn't have made, you know, if I think the circumstances were different. But maybe I was just trying to get a certain type of attention. Any attention was better than none. Um, but there was this rock bottom moment, Rugari, when I was 16. And it actually was the first time that I tried to stand up and use my voice out of trying to help somebody. And there was somebody else that didn't like that. And so they arranged a party that I was in attendance of. I didn't realize it was set up for me. And it was at that party that night that I got jumped by 5 girls. And there were, I don't know, 60, 70 kids that were just standing around watching it happen. And I remember in that moment just thinking, wow, this is so interesting that nobody is stopping this from happening. And it made me so sad for humanity. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm 16, but somehow I think I'm a wise soul in here somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like my consciousness could not believe that this was unfolding. And I realized in that night that nobody was going to save me. I needed to save me. And it was this story of, step by step, decision by decision, day by day, I stopped searching for value in the outside world, somebody to come save me. And instead, I started building value inside of myself and becoming a person I would be proud to be. And so I graduated from high school with honors, and I was actually the most improved student. I got an award for it, which was actually humiliating, but whatever. And I went on to, college, and I got a job that really gave me this feeling of belonging for the first time. And when I felt that feeling of belonging after almost 20 years, my whole life of feeling the opposite, I can only say that something magnificent woke up inside of me. And, the next 20 years was me trying to understand what my own light was. What was that about? And what did I want to do with that light? Because honestly, it scared me. My own power, my own voice, it scared me. And I had collected all of this evidence that said, if you speak up, bad things will happen. If you are seen, bad things will happen. And it was this, the second quarter, the second half of my life has really been just this proving, like overcoming a lot of my old beliefs that were holding me back from shining my light in the world. And this book that I've just launched after 17 years of working with thousands of entrepreneurs is their number two, not in the spotlight as number one, because I didn't want to be there, but I would be your number two. And I would tell you all the things that you should do so that you can shine your light. And I got so many results for people. And it was just enough to stay under the radar until life had other plans for me. And the universe had to kick me in the face really hard to wake me up out of my coping armor and say, no, my darling, you need to be in the spotlight. And even just saying that, Rugare, I have tears in my eyes, and it is this terrifying feeling still. I think maybe it will always be there as a reminder of understanding where I came from so that I can understand other people and where they are. And you might be listening and thinking, I'm afraid to use my voice. I'm afraid to shine my light. I'm afraid to be seen too. But hey, baby, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yes, that is so powerful. I completely relate to the idea of I don't belong. And that's been my story. The moment I
Yes,
was
you do.
born, the world told me I did not belong. I was born in England and I wasn't a British citizen. Then I went back to Zimbabwe and I wasn't a Zimbabwean citizen. So it was these arbitrary laws of the world that told me who I could and couldn't be. And I believed them. And every time I believed these arbitrary ideas of who I should be, my light became lower and lower and lower. And so I can really hear that you have been on this journey of reclaiming your light. And I remember when we met 2 years ago, in our first meeting, you were like, wow, the universe is telling me to be visible. The universe is telling me to be visible. And I remember you saying that. And then 2 years later, infinite impact. Wow, Amber. So
That was
tell me.
divine intervention. It just was.
So you wrote this amazing book called Infinite Impact, and boy oh boy, everybody must read it. I've been sharing this book around, Amber, here in Australia. It's not readily accessible, but I've been sharing this book. It's amazing. Tell me why you wrote Infinite Impact and what you want people to get out of it.
Thank you. I mean, first, I will add that at infiniteimpactbook.com, if you scroll down just a bit, like 30% on the page. There's a gold button, and the gold button allows you to download the entire book for free, the PDF version. You don't have to give me your email address. You don't have to give anything. You just click the button and there's the PDF, and you can get the entire book for free, because I care more about people getting this information than the $2 I'd make on Amazon, right? Like, leave me a review if you want to. I'd love that. But it's about the work. It's not about Amber Vilhauer. And actually, Ricare, January 1st of this year, I had no intention of writing a book. Didn't want to do it.
January 1st of this year.
January 1st of this year, I had no intention of writing a book. I actually had tried in the back half of last year, hired a ghostwriter, gave her 30 hours of my content, and she gave me a manuscript that was all AI and none of my content.
Mm.
And I let her go. And I tried in December to write the book. And, it was very confronting because I was healing through some just personal family stuff that was really difficult for me at the time. And I thought, this is not the right time to write a book. Absolutely no. Done with it. Shut my laptop, moved on. But by December 7th, or excuse me, January 7th, divine intervention hit. And I had an event planned April 3rd, and a woman who had just lost her life savings. She was on the brink of divorce, just lost her job, and found out that her daughter's cancer was back, all at the same time. And she texted me and said, Amber, God told me that I'm supposed to come to your April event and celebrate the release of your book with you. So I'm coming. And I thought, whoa, what? Like, you cannot deny that. And so it was January 7th. I reached out to a publication team and I said, what is the absolute latest I can get you this manuscript so that I can get books in hand April 3rd? She said, it's not just the draft of the manuscript. I need it fully edited, a locked manuscript by February 27th. If you want to have a prayer of a chance of getting books in hand at this event. So that gave me 7 weeks. I'm a single mom. I'm a CEO. I have an incredibly complicated schedule and no time as it is. I got sick for 3 of those weeks. I had 15 beta readers and 2 editors, but I hit my deadline, February 27th. We then had 2 weeks to go into typesetting, and it was really complicated to do typesetting. It's the internal design of the book because it's full color. There are nature images, there are work exercise sections, there are different fonts. I've even gone so far as to underline and highlight things that I want you to do, like to know the most. So, I mean, it was very complex design. And we made it with a 1-day margin. I got books in hand at that event, and the woman was there, and I brought her up on stage and I said, this all happened because of you. And we were in tears. I was signing books. We had champagne. Like, it was amazing. And then at the end of that event, I mean, the book was coming out in like the next 3 weeks. I had no time to even promote it. I'm a book launch manager, Rugare. You've been there. I said you need at least 6 to 12 months to have your runway for your book launch. I had 3 weeks. I didn't have time to tell anybody. So my team reached out to maybe 80 people and said, Amber doesn't even have time. She's going against all of her normal practices. Like, can you help her get this book out? And I had about 50 people that said they would be willing to do workshops with me with their communities. A couple people said they would do podcasts. Some people said they would buy the book. And that was all I could do. I think maybe 5%, 10% of my audience still to this day, even though I wrote a book, Rugare. It happened so fast. And then what happened was, as people got access to the book, these people just, I get emails from around the world, Australia, Brazil, Fiji, Canada, South Africa, Mexico, everywhere. And they are saying that of all of the books they've read, this is the most transformational. It's life-changing. It's shifting their marriages, their businesses, their parenting, their everything. And this was not the book I was going to even write last year. This is just the book that emerged. This was divine. And I feel so grateful that I was gifted the honor of bringing this work out to the world, because it's such a critical time. People need to hear the message of how to get into alignment and how to use that to be fully self-expressed and get your message out into the world, because you are uniquely and divinely made. And if you try to put yourself in a box and think you should be this or you should do this, I mean, you know, Rugari, we can't do that. That's not why we are here. There will be no change and our life will have been wasted. I'm sorry, but it will. And so I'm here, I guess, selected to help people rise up and reclaim their true voice and create impact in the world. And it's a big responsibility, and I'm ready for it.
It's powerful, and not only are you ready for it, you've been doing it all your life, and it's just grown so profoundly. And what I love about you, even in our first catch up, all you wanted from me is to be heard, valued, and seen. And now you're doing the same thing with, I remember we were both shaken by our interaction together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your presence, our interaction has changed the course of my life. I've written my book. We talked about expanding my message. You did that. You did that. And you talked about, being the second person, the second in charge, not the first in charge. But for me, I see it as we've been side by side. That's who you are for me, Amber. Side by side. Now, tell me more about being in alignment, because this is the focus of the book. So, what does that mean, and how do we do it?
It's funny because it's like January 8th, and I opened up my laptop and I thought, what the heck am I going to write this book about? And I was really just, again, like emotionally charged. I was not in the right like state of mind or state of heart to write a book, especially in this kind of timeline, given the circumstances. And it was just this moment of taking your hands off the wheel and saying, okay, well, you're the one that made this happen, so you better tell me what to do with it. And I asked myself this question: of all of the people I've spoken to, the thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs in 2 decades that I've spoken to, what do they all have in common? I'd never asked myself that question before, not like that. And the answer that emerged instantaneously is they were out of alignment. And I thought, alignment? What is that? I don't even think I've ever said that out loud before. That's interesting. And I thought, well, how do you get into alignment? And I'm waiting and waiting for the answer. And I mean, we're talking about, a week, 2 weeks go by, and I'm thinking, I don't have time for this. How do you get into alignment? I started looking back on what did I do in all of my consulting, retainers? Like, how did I get people successful results? And I looked at, the first thing that I do is I preach that you have to know your avatar, not an audience, not an ideal customer profile, an avatar, like one person who's a specific age that has deep thoughts and emotions and scarcity and worries and anxiety and overwhelm, that has responsibility and aspirations and dreams and wants to know if they're significant. Like your avatar, your person. My person's name is Heather. So I've been teaching this for 12 years, 15 years. And I thought, yeah, that's a really important part of getting into alignment. What else do you need? And then more time would go by. It felt like I was getting these messages downloaded that I would have to, it was like looking at Arabic, and I'd have to like decode them. And as soon as I like really saw how to get into alignment, it was quite confronting for me, Rugare. And I saw how out of alignment I had been. And yet I'm writing the book on alignment. So you can see what this felt like. And so the second pillar to the foundational four framework is vision. Now, vision is sort of like, I want to help everybody in the world to do this incredibly big thing that I could probably never achieve in a lifetime. I mean, honestly, that's most people's visions. And I think it sets them up for, feeling less than, like it's something that we struggle with. Like, yes, we want it, but we don't actually believe we can achieve it. And that's not a good feeling. So instead, I invite people to come up with a micro vision. How do you want to impact your avatar on a daily basis? So, for example, when Heather comes into a Zoom room, I'm going to greet her with a big smile. and I'm going to ask her how she is. And I don't want to know that she's good. Thanks. How are you? I want her to actually tell me how she is. Like, oh, actually, I'm really grateful my little 4-year-old did this today, but then I was challenged by this other thing. How are you doing, Amber? Like, I actually want to know her. I care. That's an example of a micro vision, a way that I want to impact her. Now, by listing out my micro vision regarding the cool thing, I recognize that I can achieve my vision every single day. I don't have to wait to the end of my life to experience that fulfillment and that joy and pleasure. I get to do it daily. So then we move into the third pillar, which is why. And here was the biggest one that just rocks people because I've never heard this taught anywhere, and they apparently haven't either. I would never say it's nowhere else because, come on, it's 2024, but I mean, I don't know where else it is. So normally your why is, why do I want that vision? Because I want to help people be. And it's like your why statement and your vision statement tend to be pretty similar.
Mm,
And in this process, I thought, no, 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 no. Wait a minute. So if vision is what I give to humanity, my why is what that gives to me.
mm,
And so now all of a sudden you have mutual reciprocation. So if I am helping Rugare to feel heard, seen, and valued in this moment, my why is that it fills my unmet need to be heard, seen, and valued. And there is this beautiful harmony and flow that should be interacting between your vision and your why. And that was the piece where I was out of alignment. I was always giving to everybody else, thinking that that was my purpose, was to give it all away. But at the end of the day, I was depleted. Nobody was filling up my cup. And it wasn't even nobody, it was that I wasn't filling up my own cup. I wasn't filling my own needs. And then the last pillar, if avatar, vision, and why is what gets you into alignment, your values and the way that I teach them is what helps you stay in
mm,
alignment. And then all of your marketing, sales, and fulfillment strategies move out from there. It's an expression of your alignment. And that means that your company is in congruence. When your company is operating in congruence, infinite impact is inevitable. You
mm.
want more money? It's inevitable. You can't stop it from happening because it's naturally producing from your alignment.
Powerful. That is so powerful. And I resonate deeply with everything you said there. For me personally, my vision is to inspire and empower all people to be the leaders in their life. And I have my 6 values, of which one is legacy, which is living my legacy today. Not when I'm dead, the living, living it today. So even
Exactly.
right now,
Yes.
I know in this conversation, in every breath we're taking, its impact. And I feel it
Yeah.
inside me. It's going out in the world, but I also feel it. It's that win 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 scenario. And you
Mhm.
always talk about win win win. In every conversation we've been
I
talking
do.
about, you always talk about win win win. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was around a lot of selfish people in my life, and it always made my heart hurt. And that's kind of a form of transaction and taking. And it just never felt good to be on the receiving end of that. And I thought, you know what? I want to be a giver in this world. And I thought, well, it's not about just giving to the other person. Like, isn't there a way for us all to win, like all the time? And I don't know, I don't even know where that came from, but it would be fun to kind of trace that back, probably somewhere in my 20s. I think my brain is just wired that there's always an opportunity for everybody at the table to win at the same time. And if I don't like option A and I don't like option B, then I have to innovate option C so that we can create leverage and win-win-wins everywhere. And I really believe that that is the bond. When you can think strategically that way, you are creating a bond between the other people at the table where Amber wins because I said yes to this podcast. Rugare wins because now he has this really interesting conversation to share with his following. And now the following wins because they get to receive the information and then share it with others. So this is an example of like us coming together at this table in this moment is a way to have everybody win. And when you approach each opportunity like that, like this bonds us, and not just you and me, Rugari, it bonds us with the person listening. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for taking it in so you can share this with the people that you love and care about so that it can bond us with them too. I mean, we're all in this together. It's our responsibility and duty, in my opinion. That's kind of the message I share with others.
You know, what's so powerful about this is that in the world we live in, my experience, and I can only talk from my experience, is that people have their own ulterior motives that they don't communicate. So whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships, you know, you could go on a date and the person, you think you're on the date there to have a good time, but that person might be there for
Oh, sure.
something completely different. And the
Yes,
experience is so, can be like degrading, shameful, unfulfilling
totally.
whatsoever. What I love about you, Amber, is that you're saying, this is what I want. What do you want? And how can we both or all of us make it happen? You are
Exactly.
upfront about it. And that's one of the reasons I'm drawn to you, because I know what I'm getting myself into. It's clear, it's visible. And I think that, imagine the world if we were all behaving like that.
Oh
This is
my
what I
goodness.
want.
Could you even imagine it? That'd be so great.
But one of the things I feel, it takes a person that's really vulnerable or really loves themselves to be able to say, this is what I want. You know, I coach so many people, and one of the barriers that always seems to come up is, I don't know what I want, or I don't know how to ask for what I want. So, you being a practitioner of win win
Yeah.
scenarios, what would you say to people who don't know what they want or are finding it very difficult to express their wants and needs, because you're doing that on a daily basis?
That's a fantastic question. So I applaud that. But I think, in my experience, that a lot of people have a hard time speaking their truth and being seen. And this comes from childhood. And I'm not a therapist, okay, but I've done the work and I can recognize that there is evidence that I collected that said, when I am seen and heard, a bad thing happens. That is stored in my brain so that when there is the next moment for me to speak my truth, I don't, because I don't want to get hurt again. And the more evidence that we have collected, and the more we remind ourselves of that evidence, we live in the past, right? We try to move away from that pain, which creates more opportunity for that pain to come in. I mean, just trust me, that's how it works. I am definitely an expert on this. um, and so in the book, actually, I call this resistance because, in my opinion, like in my experience too, when I think back on my marriage, when I think back on challenging leadership situations, when I think back on parenting, when I think back on going out on a stage, that resistance was present. I knew what I wanted. Maybe I didn't want to admit it out loud, but I knew what I wanted. I wanted a certain thing to happen in my marriage. I wanted a certain thing to happen with my relationship and parenting. I wanted a certain outcome on that stage. I knew what I wanted, but there was this incapability of expressing it because I had collected evidence that told me if I did it, something bad would happen. This is actually more subconscious than it is conscious behavior because your brain will go back and forth. It'll feel two ways about things. Well, Amber, but you need to get back out on that stage so that you can get the business or you can have the impact. Like, of course you want it, silly, get out there. And then this other part of me is like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. The nerves are too big. This is so stressful. I can't do it. I can't do it. So you can feel two ways about things, which makes you feel a little delusional. At least it has for me sometimes. But it's because our subconscious and conscious minds are at odds with one another. So knowing this resistance, let's give it a label, resistance, that's what you're feeling. what I did in the book is I actually tackled that first. And it was a risk to tackle that first because that meant I had to delay people getting into the work to get into alignment, which was a further delay from part 3 in the book, which is all about books and business. Like, how do you get your message out? How do you market online? Which, by the way, is everything that I'm known for. So people have to get all the way practically to the end of the book before they get to the part that's the reason they're buying the book. Right. So you can see some of these risks that I took, but I thought, dang, you have to get into alignment before we can do your strategy. And you're not going to get into alignment until I can help you through your resistance. So I added in this chapter called The Courage to Course Correct. And it's a very uncomplicated exercise that anytime that you feel that tightening in your throat, I can't tell this person, I can't do this thing. You just simply go through the Courage to Course Correct exercise. And what it will simply do is help you identify the evidence that you've collected that if you're heard and seen, something bad will happen. It shows you what happens if you continue to believe those things. It then shifts you into asking yourself, when were times when I was heard and seen and a good thing happened? And you collect all of that evidence. And at last, you can make the shift to decide, well, what set of evidence do I choose to believe in this moment? Okay, I'm going to choose to believe that if I'm heard and seen, a good thing happens. So I'm going to get out on that stage and I am going to rock that stage. I am going to tell my wife how I feel. I'm going to open up and express to my child. And your whole worldview transforms in an instant. You actually have more control than you think you do of this situation.
Very powerful. My experience with that as well as a coach is I can't help people either grow their business or, fulfill a goal without really dealing with what you called the resistance. Their
Yeah.
self-awareness of understanding why they think the way they think, and just the context of being human, all those ideas that they have taken in and think that they're their own, but actually go against their light.
Yes.
And what's so powerful about what you're sharing is you're more than just a books and business strategist.
Apparently.
Because what you're really talking about is any foundation to be successful in business or in launching your book, you've got to be right with yourself.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut.
Nope.
And I'm just putting it bluntly because what you're communicating is there is no shortcut to success. We've got to do the work. We've
Yes.
got to look at our thinking. We've got to look at the things we're resisting. We've got to walk through all of that,
Yes.
put it in our past to
Yep.
really show up to our vision, our values.
Yes.
And that's what you're actually communicating.
Yes.
No
Well
guts, no
done. Follow
glory.
me everywhere I go. But stay by my side forever.
And that's so powerful because I think it takes bravery for people in business to say that. How many
Tremendous.
times have you had people come up to you and say, I would like to launch my book, or this is what I want to do in business, but there's all that baggage that's coming in with it that they're unwilling to leave?
100% of people I talk to, 100%,
Yes,
especially the people that tell me, oh, my mindset's good. I'm solid. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I think,
yes.
okay, okay. And I already know what's happening. And so that was the interesting thing about the book is that I've I've known and been doing these things my whole career kind of without knowing it, if that makes sense. I mean, I used to joke that my work is part therapy because when you're launching a book, I mean, you have to market yourself, you have to sell yourself, you have to ask people to support you and get your message out for you, not to mention whatever you've revealed in your book itself. I mean, it is a very humbling experience to put all of that out there. And all of your stuff comes up. And what scares me is that most authors are completely unprepared. They are so out of alignment. Like they come to me, they don't even know what their goals are. They'll say, I want to hit New York Times. And I say, oh, why? And they don't even have an answer for me. Well, what should my goals be, Amber? And I'm like, what? These are your goals, not mine for you.
Mm,
And it's I think unfortunately we've been conditioned to do things without like really thinking about them and tapping into like, do I really want this for my life? Yes, I do. Why? Because of this very specific reason. And usually it's going to come back to filling an unmet need, right?
mm,
Maybe you have a need for belonging. Maybe you have a need for setting the record straight, kind of like I did. I mean, I've been so gaslit and misunderstood for so long that when you look in the book, I share all of my very honest answers to the exercises. And the thing that I needed the most of this big long list is I just wanted to know the truth. I just wanted to know the truth. And when I wrote that, I was like, what? Where did that come from? Well, it came from feeling gaslit most of my life. And it felt like my words were twisted around and I could never just say what I wanted to say. And so no wonder that writing a book was such a important milestone for me because I put that out there and nobody else can edit that. That is mine. That's the truth. Those are the facts. That's what I believe. And it's done now.
yes.
So we all have these internal motivators, and I don't want it to scare you to open the hood and see what's in there. There are gifts in there that you have unknowingly been afraid of, but there's such beauty and expansion and love and success and money and everything else on the other side of just peeking under the hood. And you just need a great coach like Rugari to really do that inner work in a safe environment. He knows where to take you, and you'll get there in very short order. It turns out you don't have to blow up your whole life just to get into alignment. What I have found is they're just little refinements. It's honestly the way you feel about you and how that projects out into the world. So this isn't scary stuff, but it is important. Got to get it done.
Very powerful. You don't have to blow up your entire life to get into
No,
alignment.
no way.
We can get
Nope.
into refinement. Now, when I worked with you, Amber, you are very clear and blunt. All in. You're
Yes.
either all in or you're not. I thought I was all in 2 years ago.
Yes,
I
you did.
really thought I was all in. And then when it came for me to start sharing my message and be visible, particularly online, I ran. So for a year, 6 months, I ran away. I couldn't do it. I really could not do it. I could not be visible at a global stage. And that became my barrier. So for 18 months or so, I've been working on being all in. Those words 2 years ago, all in. And 6 months ago, I started sharing myself and sharing myself and sharing myself. Win-win relationships. And it's all about relationship. It's not
Yeah.
transactional. Because I was so scared to be visible because in my country, being gay, you go to jail. So that fear comes up. I'm scared to be visible. I'm a black gay guy. I'm so scared to be visible. I don't sound Australian. I don't sound American. I don't sound British. So when you are talking about it all stems in the childhood and the conditioning of childhood, I completely relate to that. And that's the real work I had to do since I said I'm going to write a book and I'm going to magnify my voice. So I just wanted you to know that that's 2 years ago, all in, holding it. I've been holding it, wrestling with it, and it's appearing. Amber, your voice has been right there beside me. So thank you so much for sharing how we can walk through all of this. And I think one of the things I would like our listeners to know is you don't have to do all of this by yourself.
No, man, no way. It's
No
you
way.
don't
It's
want to.
impossible.
It's too hard,
It's too
and it's not as
hard.
fun. It's not as fun when you do it alone.
So I would love to hear from you, Amber. What would you say to people who are launching a book or want their business to be visible? What would you say to them?
Oh, all sorts of things. One is, yeah, go all in. I remember back to the first time I felt belonging. It was in a training class, and in that training class, the trainer said there are three types of people in the world. There's the person who sits on the fence and watches what everybody else is doing. There's the person who dips their pinky toe into the pool to see what the temperature is and if it feels safe. And the third type of person is the person that jumps in with both feet. And I didn't know really who I was or what I was doing, especially in that job, but I just knew I wanted to be that type of person, the one that goes all in. And so that's really where that comes from. And I do think that's important. The second thing that's important is bravery. You got to have it. And it's honestly strength training. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised. It's not like you're born with it or you're not. Everybody is born with bravery. It's just you've got to do one step and experience the reward of that, and then let that give you courage to take another step and another step and another step. And before you know it, you will be operating in discomfort all day, every day, and doing it anyway, because that's the work that you want to put out into the world. Like me, I mean, every day I feel fear. Every single day, without doubt, I feel fear. And I do it anyway because I have a message to get out that's bigger than Amber Vilhauer. So you have to have bravery. And I think the next thing would be, okay, we've decided we're all in. Now we're brave. Now we just need to get into alignment. And I really encourage you to go get the book, to do the 4 exercises to get into alignment, because it will change your life. And I also do these like 4-week alignment programs in a group setting that are so incredibly special. I'm actually doing one. The first one was today. Absolutely life changing, so much fun, where we're going through the work together in a month. And then there are alignment guides that will be available in August that can do private 90-minute sessions too. So I think the alignment piece, whether you do it on your own or you need help, like there's help available to you. And then the last thing, you need a great strategist if you are an entrepreneur, so that you understand the fastest way, the fastest, cheapest, best way to achieve your vision without sacrificing quality. And that is the best money that you could be investing into yourself and your business, because without the strategy, you will give away your power to other people that tell you what you should be doing, instead of a strategist who caters to you and your needs and your life and your constraints and builds the roadmap from there. So that would be the distinction. And those are the 4 things that I would recommend for everybody listening.
There is nobody in Australia that does what you do, and I'm asserting nobody in the world. You've
I can't
worked.
find anybody like
I
me.
can't
So
find
I guess.
anybody. I've looked, my team has looked, and we came to you. And, you're an extraordinary strategist. And by working with you, many things showed up. I was able to publish my book globally. You made the suggestion of who to work with. So I've got a publisher, that I work with, where I control all my intellectual property, the
Yep.
copyright, and my book goes global because of you. So you have done so much in using your superpower by being in alignment with yourself to help me be in alignment with myself. And you're always giving and giving and giving. So I want to share the other 2 things you are creating and giving. So you've also created the congruence assessment test. Can you tell us a bit about that and how people can access it?
Yeah, it's a 20 or so question assessment that I came up with, so that you can kind of measure how in or out of alignment you are. And it's very simple, it's fast to take. There's an online version, it's also in the PDF, and you're just ranking statements from 1 to 5. And then there's a tally at the end, and then there's simple results to kind of give you a benchmark for where you are. And all of the answers to how to grow your numbers are in the rest of the book. So
That's
it's all
awesome.
there for you
It's
inside of the book.
awesome.
It's a really awesome tool.
You've
And I
really
did
made
see
everything.
yours.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I saw yours as well. So thank
Yes,
you for
I did it.
that.
I did it. And it was so much fun. It was so easy to do. But
Yeah.
it was also an eye-opening. It was also eye-opening to discover the parts where I'm not congruent with myself, and I loved it. I think what you are doing is just amazing because you just make it easy for people to,
Thank you.
forge
That's
their
the
own
goal.
path, to discover their
Yeah.
light, and for all of us to shine. Is there anything you haven't said that you'd like to say?
Wow. Um, just that this is a really, really critical time on the planet right now. I mean, I know we all feel it. There's a lot of change, and there's small changes, there are huge changes both inside and out. We all probably feel like our skin is the only thing holding us together some moments. And, I just want people to know that I experience that energy as well. And I don't know exactly what's ahead. Nobody does. It's a very uncertain time. But I really strongly do believe that we are protected and that this valley that we're walking through is for our benefit. And on the other side of this will be a tremendous gift. And, at this point in the journey, I recommend strength training to you. Don't bury your head in the sand or quote, wait to see what happens. It's time to trust your instincts, your gut instinct. That is the only truth that you can really rely on at the end of the day. And the more you listen to that gut instinct, it will protect you. Follow its guidance and use your voice in the world to create community because there's strength in numbers, there's power in numbers, there's safety in numbers. And, with Rugare and with myself, I mean, you are clearly plugged into some really conscious, loving people that genuinely care for your success. So, really, because it takes two to tango, I just encourage you to reach out and actually take action with the people that you want to be around more so. That's available to you. You just have to take that action. And that ability is already inside of you. Just make the choice and move forward.
Very powerful, Amber. One of my values is community. There's no I, there's no me, there's we, and having this strong community of people who are shining their light absolutely protects us.
Yeah,
And not
100%.
only does it protect us, we get to elevate the consciousness of humanity together.
Yeah,
So thank you, Amber.
this
Thank you
was the
so
best.
much. How can people find you?
I'm everywhere. Everywhere books
Yes,
are
you
sold.
are.
So
Yes, you are.
seriously. So you could just Google ambervilhauer.com, and I've got multiple websites and social channels and videos all over the place. And my business is set up to serve really anybody at any level, just individuals that have no business to people that are, generating seven figures of revenue and looking how to scale, how to get lean, how to have more aligned strategies, how to create more impact, and everything in between. And there are ways that you can interact more do it yourself. There are ways that you can interact in community or one on one with me. I mean, I've really expanded my model in a way that meets you where you are instead of you having to being forced into something that I want to do. I mean, so there's really a lot of opportunity here. You just have to pick a path and start heading down it and engage with me anytime. I'm very open to feedback. I'd love to know what you thought of this session. So please connect with me. I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you, Amber. Thank you for your time, your generosity, your love, your courage for your light to shine every single day. That's extraordinary. Thank you for being my friend.
Thank you, Ricard. I love you.
Love you too.